And what I actually argue for is markets, at least on top of government. Let some freedom reign. The government both does what it does, but it also forbids the rest of us from doing other things. And I think that's the real damage. So generalities aside, let us remember what a cacophony testing was and remains under the government control. Tests were developed very quickly. The Center for Disease Control, however, not only bungled its own test, refused us to let us use tests that had been developed elsewhere, even made it illegal for universities who know how to make tests and conduct them to conduct their own tests, putting the whole testing thing a month or two behind schedule. And the chance of handling this with competent public health, testing, tracing, isolating, then evaporated. The FDA continues to regulate tests, taking a long time to improve them. The most recent, imagine how this would have gone if you could have a little paper strip test that you can take at home, costs $2 to $5. You can find out if you're sick. Your employer can use this to find out if you're sick, send you home. You know who's got it, you know who doesn't. Why don't we have that? Because the FDA refused to approve it, continues to refuse to approve it. The ones that has finally, after close to a year into this, let out of the barn, it does so still requiring a doctor's prescription, $50, and enrolling into an app. Now, by what possible right, you may ask, does the FDA not allow you to know what's going on inside your body and not allow a company to sell you that service? A test cannot hurt you. We can talk about medicines and vaccines; those maybe could go wrong, but a test cannot hurt you unless you take this extraordinarily paternalistic view that you might do something bad with the information that you get with the test, which is in fact the kind of view that they take. So how would things work in the free? Now, free market would not be perfect. People have a tendency, we've seen people who get tests go out anyway. People might not want to pay the $2 to $5. People, there's an externality. If you get tested, you need to do something unpleasant and stay home. But suppose we could have all had whatever tests we wanted. Maybe they were imperfect, maybe not. We would know what they're good. They're better than taking a thermometer and a web check of your systems, which is the testing we use now. We're allowed to use medieval technology. We're just not allowed to use modern technology in order to test, to isolate, and trace. So allowing the market to develop tests, send them to us, even if imperfect, would have been a lot better, even on top of, eventually the governments to say this test is certified and so forth. And I want to close with there's a deep problem of bureaucratic mindset. The FDA is stuck in thalidomide, briefly brought out of it by the AIDS crisis. It's thinking of the test.
Explain what that is. John, explain what you mean by thalidomide.
Thalidomide was a great disaster of a drug in the 1960s. Early 1960s, when a drug turned out to cause birth defects, and the FDA had approved it. So the FDA, when it thinks certify a test, it thinks you're in a hospital, you're sick, really sick. The doctor needs a test to know how to treat you. That test really has to be accurate, and it doesn't matter if it's expensive. The point of the test for us is to stop the spread of a disease. There's two very different philosophies of test here. And for that, you need cheap, you need quick. Getting a test that takes 3 days to come back or 2 weeks to come back is pointless. You need cheap, you need quick. You don't need totally accurate. In stopping a disease, we just need to get the reproduction rate below 1. So if 1 in 10 people has a false positive or false negative and goes out, that's fine. You've caught the other 9 and the disease stops. So there's this bigger problem of a bureaucratic mentality that both the CDC and FDA have not been able to get around. We're facing exponential growth. We need to stop the spread of a disease, not certify things for use in an individual treatment setting. I think that's a lot behind it. But market would have served us a lot better.